And away we go. So I took the last shot, and as I had mentioned previously, am leveraging it. So this is actually the last shot, and I didn't even bother to kill the keyframes, get rid of them. I'm going to just, because I really wanted to just keep all the lip sync shapes. So that brings us to here, where this is what's going to happen. Okay, so she's got Mr. Big standing behind her. She goes, Zen? So this is what we're working on. So sorry that, well, that the, that you haven't been able to see the whole process of doing these sketches. But at least we can have the delight of picking up where we left off. So this, okay, yeah, so there's Akari. Probably I should just make her semi-transparent at this point. And then what I want to do is go through and essentially tighten up the pencils. I've sort of blocked it in with different colors. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Draw, draw, draw. Okay, I don't want smoothing on. Okay, good to go. So what we're going to try to do here is create, actually that's a little too dark. Create the these next three keyframes. Now, one thing I want to do here, as you see me doing, is something I haven't done enough of in the past, which is keep flipping the canvas a lot when I'm at the sketch stage. I tend to start flipping later in the process, which is not really good policy. If there's going to be anything strange or unbalanced, you really want to catch it early, right? So okay, not too bad. Alright, I want to pull out a little bit here and see the progression. Okay, so her hair, for all intents and purposes, is probably only going to move maybe this much. It's not going to move very much. So we can go ahead and connect that. And then here we're basically just tracing it. Okay. Feels pretty good. And let's get the other one. Okay, so in terms, this is essentially where it's glued to her head. So this is the positioning of this is sort of non-negotiable, you might say. So as I have been prone to say, go from the known to the unknown. And since this anchoring of the pigtail is a known, then effectively it becomes the guide to where things go from here. Now, this kind of bugs me. I don't think this really makes a lot of sense, so I'm gonna just draw this a little darker. Let's just get this. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so then we play connect the dots. And you see how these lines go from being, this is sort of convex to more concave. It's more of an S actually in this case. And then it sort of settles, which causes it to straighten back out. Comes a little bit convex. Now, one problem I have is it looks like the thickness of this one kind of went the way of the buffalo. So let's fix that right now. Yeah, all the other drawings seem okay. It was just the last one where I got a little sloppy. Okay, so Akari's ear. We don't want to change size. So I'm just firming up the sketch here. Really, more than anything, to reset it in my mind, because I'm picking this up, after yesterday. Okay, I think that'll work. And this is a sort of a secondary motion of the hair flopping around, and then it will settle behind her. Probably should turn the onion skins off at this point. Okay, so now let's just zoom in, and right now and now let's do that flipping we talked about. Little bit of a difference here in the how far it shrinks, or how far the lower part of the eye hangs down. So I want to sort of address that. Okay, so turn the eraser back off. So here's our shape. Okay, so this is going to switch from sort of an S, almost a straight line, to concave or convex, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, here's a problem. In that this tendril, if you want to call it that, was always a little bit longer, and now all of a sudden, magically, it has become a little bit shorter, which is kind of stupid. So that makes more sense. And then this just sort of follows around like so. And I'm going to pull back so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now this guy. Okay, I don't like the way it grows right there. Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. Boom. So the point should be about there. Again, what the heck? Okay, so basically that becomes that. This is definitely Slop City. Actually, let's go back one more. Okay, nope, we're good. Not quite. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Now, because we have all these keyframes from earlier, we don't really have the ability to just play it back. I mean, I guess we could. We could actually do this. Yeah, let's do this. Let's be smart about it. Let's go here, and just for kicks and giggles, let's pick 160 as our starting point. Actually, this is... I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Let's go from 160 to... Whoops. 240. There we go. Problem solved. Now we have the ability to sort of pile all this good stuff into a single creative file. Alright. And for some reason, when I hit the animation, or the space bar, the animation doesn't start playing. And of course, here's the reason why. For some reason, Krita will maintain focus, will grab the focus, and until, I guess, maybe we need to click away from there or something. There, now it works. Okay. Okay, so you probably noticed I added an extra keyframe here. The reason I did that is I want to take this, anchor it there, and have her head turn a little bit. Okay, and actually, let me redo that. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to grab this, specifically so that the pigtails... Actually, I think I like it better if she turns her head that way. Okay. I like that a lot, actually. Okay. So in order for that to kind of sort of make sense, the pigtails need to move, especially this one. So let's hit the A key, and let's say this one would maybe do something like that. Let's turn on the... actually... Yeah, I mean, that's probably okay. And then let's say this one, remember, it doesn't have to be smooth, you know, in the sense of continuity in the lines and whatnot, since this is just a guide. As long as I understand what I was trying to do, like right there, you see the gaps, doesn't matter. We'll just fill that in when we ink it. Okay, so there's one obvious thing that's got to happen here, which is this hair would make like that. And actually, I'm going to say, since we're giving ourselves this extra keyframe, let's go ahead and sort of go like this, so we still see a hint of the ponytail, and now the ponytail would be gone once we get to here. I think I like that better. Okay. So the only thing that concerns me now would probably be her eyes. Okay, this is going to all go by really fast, so we have a little bit of latitude, but certainly these two keyframes, especially this one, needs to be right. Let's get this one completely right, since it's clearly the most important one. And the idea is that she's got, her eyes are a bit squinted, and then we've got to come back to the traditional Akari eye shape, which is essentially a trapezoid, except that she's got a little bit of this cartoony, this shape going on. Okay, so basically this is what I'm trying to capture, is this idea. And then this one would be like that, and this one would be like that. That's what I'm trying to do, but while adhering to Akari's somewhat less cartoony character design, you know. So I think, but who knows? I mean, really, maybe it would be better to be a little looser and more cartoony with it. Okay. So let's just do that and see how it feels. So that feels pretty good. Okay, so her mouth, let me see here. Is her mouth in a different, yeah, her mouth is, well, no, her mouth is baked into here. So once we get to here, we'll take the mouth out and put it on its own layer. So so that's her body. So I need to change these names so they make more sense. Akari body, Akari head, and this would be sketch. And then let's just use good practices here and put those guys in a group. And we'll call the group, the obvious thing, Akari. Okay. So now we're a little more organized. We should be able to hit the old space bar and see what happens. And then here's Mr. Big behind her. So yeah, she just got surprised. Actually, you can see the whole shot because I'm building on the previous shot. So she's like, by the way, YouTube audience, I'm talking to someone right now. So she is, hey Zen, you know, sorry you're so late to the party, you missed all the fun, whatever she says there. And he says, she goes, hmm? And then she turns her head and says, Zen? Got it?
It doesn't quite fit to Zen. I like this up to the point where it's shocked. The turn of the head, I don't know, it feels a little off.
Well, what if it only went to here? Boop. Because that's what it was before, and then I added this extra keyframe. So it's like, confusion. But I thought the tilt of the head looked pretty good. Now, actually, I could certainly see going like this, putting this here so she goes, Zen? That would actually be even better. I like that. So, viscerally, what are you responding to here?
Her attitude doesn't fit. She's surprised. She is still looking forward.
Okay.
I like it up to that point. This.
Okay, so this is the original that has been ostensibly acceptable up till now, unless you haven't really noticed it or whatever. But so that's what we had before. And really, the only difference here, so the attitude's slightly different, but this is what I was trying to go for, is just recapture what I had there. So, again, YouTube audience, here's what we're comparing with. The original here, which I believe was executed a bit sloppily, although this shot is actually not too bad. It's not like mission critical that I redo it. But if you see going from here into the old shot, you can see the difference in the quality of her rendering. Okay, so he says, indeed, and she goes, Zen? Okay.
I would actually say we'd be better just to pause on something like this, where she's surprised and go to the top.
So in this shot, she actually goes from this surprise back.
Yeah.
You mean back? You mean forward?
No, back.
You mean back?
There we go.
So we got that shot.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go before you get to that.
Okay. Terminology. I don't know what you mean by go before you get to that.
I would probably say I would want to stay on this.
Stay on that pose. Okay. I had a feeling maybe that was where you were going to go with it. So you're saying keep the expression, go like this. Now, when you're saying get rid of the head turn, because I have no problem with that. I actually consider doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would literally not change.
So don't change the head turn, but just have her eyes go. So let's just run this in reverse. So it would be more like Zen, except get rid of the smile, right? So expression-wise, it'd be sort of a switchback. So cover her mouth. Zen? Except maybe her eyebrows would look a little more confused.
Well, it wouldn't be confused until he says something, right?
Right. Okay.
And
So
at that point, her eyes would go down. But yeah, I wouldn't have the head tilt just to
okay.
quite fit. So.
Okay. So you're feeling like it's a little too cartoony, probably.
Yep.
Was this original one? Did you feel it was too cartoony?
Yeah, it's just her. It's her eyes.
Okay. So for the YouTube audience, what's going on here is this. What you see here is very much my style, and the problem is my style often runs headlong into sort of conventions that we want to sort of adhere to for anime. So the fact is, we probably want to actually animate her less, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you tend to go ugly. They're girls.
Well, see, I don't find that ugly at all.
No, you definitely go ugly. I'm talking about the character. Girls, you do
Like
not.
that.
That's something that a guy would do. A girl does not.
I see.
Girls keep their eyes open.
I see. Okay. So my maleness is working against me here. So I'm going to move that to another screen. Okay, so what that means, friends, is that if we're going to satisfy the director, I've just saved myself a lot of work because actually it means that all this can be thrown out the window. So that's cool. Probably, let me save this. Now, all of which is not to say this is wasted work, because these expressions may prove to be useful later, but if they are, then probably the following is going to have to happen. Let's just try this. So what I'm going to do next is really for my own enrichment, just to sort of play with things. Which is that, okay, so this is what Valerie is calling ugly, is when she scrunches her eyes like that. She's saying, she wouldn't really do that. Okay, so that's she's saying that would be something more that a guy would do, and I can't really say I disagree with her. So if we're gonna do something with this, what we would do, I think, is we would keep this expression more open. Okay, so the bottom of her eyes might still push up. Like that. Okay, now I gotta flip this. And I probably should zoom out a bit too. Yeah, I definitely want the original turned off at this point. Okay, so let's just look at here. And I really want to capture less of a scrunchy. Okay, I gotta flip this so I don't get way out of synchronized. Okay, so let's do it like this. Okay, and here again we have a bit of a balance problem. I should turn the body off as well. That's really confusing things. So I'm just going to be a little loose here with my sketch. What happens is when the head is tilted like this, it's really easy to lose sight of the lines across. My ability to cope, you can see it here, it's horrible. I always I have to say I kind of attribute it to a bit of a dyslexia issue. Yeah, see there, that is way more balanced. Now it's not perfect, because if we get the one line sort of correct, then we lose the other line. Okay, so hitting the B key and the erase so that what I want to get here is this line right here. So yeah, it's just, this is just really challenging to get to not let it become imbalanced. This is actually not too bad. Okay, so that feels pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to say that that's kind of one version. Okay. So let's hit the play button and see how that feels. Okay. Okay. And I agree with Valerie. If she's not going to do the scrunchy thing, in other words, if that characterization just is not working, then as much as I hate to say it, I think the whole shot is kind of wasted. Now, if she went, yeah, maybe, but I think we're probably going to throw this out. Okay, what just happened? It needs to cache. Okay, if we were going to do this, we would need fewer keyframes because she's got to turn her head quicker. So, expression-wise, I would say probably that's the one that's the most expendable. So what if... So if we had this only for her saying Zen's name, I think that would be okay. And I will say that I might as well finish this up too, because redoing the shot without the head turn is going to be brain dead easy, because it's really just a matter of just probably having to redo her eyes for one frame. So with that in mind, I'm going to go like this and come back here and go to Akari's head. And by the way, this needs to be Control-Shift-Insert. Yep. So it shows in the timeline. Okay. So, yep. So we've got that, and now we're gonna just do this head turn. Let's ink this baby. So now one thing I do want to check here. Let's go ahead and turn this dark all the way and make sure we've got our color right on our ink. Yeah, I mean it's charcoal, but it's kind of on the dark side, you know, according to what we've been doing. Okay, so, and actually, yes. So here, let's just get rid of this. Obviously, we have to get rid of it actually, because that's the whole scrunch thing that was deemed to be quite objectionable. So. Okay, so now we can give her a look of sort of wonderment, which I think is going to work better. So, cool beans. So let's zoom in, and above and beyond anything else, let's get the eyes right. Okay, hit the M key. Whoop. Harkening back to Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story 1, we don't want to give her, you know what it is, don't you? Do you remember? Angry eyes, right? Yes. Angry eyes. We don't want to give her angry eyes. Okay, so now let's go ahead and have a little bit of extra fun. I'm going to do something I maybe have never done before, which is I'm going to use the oval tool. Okay, that's a little bit large. Not quite. I actually have to squint to see if I got the balance of it right. It looks like I did. And on to the next frame. Now these ones should be able to be completely... Nope, no good. Should be able to be completely circular. Okay, so I'm going to play around here with what if her eyes were slightly crossed. I like it. Actually, I like it quite a bit. Let me flip that and see if it's still working. Okay, let's go to the brush, which now we need to switch it back to 6 pixels because we do have pressure sensitivity mapped to the size. Okay, so now, okay, so one of the key things here to remember is that her mouth, she's actually going to be saying Zen's name as she turns her head. So we're not going to draw any mouths in here at all. And by the way, right now I'm going to hit the Q key, which I have mapped to smoothing, specifically the stabilizer. Not quite. Not bad. Okay, we'll deal with the fix up right now while we're here. And let's take the mouth out. Actually, for this particular shot, just to put an indicator in there, I think we'll be okay. Okay, and so this expression's wrong. That's not bad at all. I like that. Zen? Okay, so the only problem is that from a mouth standpoint, let's take these and let's move these guys downstream a little bit. Not quite. Yeah, that's not bad. Let's put her body back in there. Okay, and the only thing I take issue with now would be, I wonder if you can select multiple. If I grab multiple layers and then hit the animate tool. No, they don't both. Okay, so this is a bit discouraging, isn't it? Look at that. Look at how amazingly imbalanced that her chin is. So I'm going to turn the sketch off. Put it like that, and I'm glad I did that because actually, you know what I want to do? I'm going to actually cheat. Let's go ahead and use the symmetry tool and see just how amazingly bad this is. Alright, so let's turn her body back off. And then one thing I've really been finding is wherever possible, use the symmetry tool to cheat. Okay, actually the smoothing is off, clearly. Okay, let me see if that kind of sort of works, I think. Sorry, that's supposed to be the eraser. Okay. And I guess for the sake of argument, let's turn this back on and just see. Yeah, it turns out that her eye line is actually pretty darn symmetrical. I actually did a good job on that. So fine, let's take that, turn that off, turn smoothing back on, turn the sketch back on, and now we need to go ahead and, oh come on. Rotate the sketch a bit. Just so we keep our drawings lined up together. And now I'm going to zoom out, turn her body back on, but let's make it kind of transparent. Save our work. Okay, now I hate to say this after being at it for a half an hour, but in my judgment, the head turn is still not helping. So that means we are going to ruthlessly delete things. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and not show this in the timeline. And I got rid of the scrunchy thing and made it a nicer look. But I still agree that the head turn isn't helping. So I said, well, what if she says Zen? Like that. I'm like, I don't know. I think it'd be better if she just stays in this expression, says Zen, and doesn't move much. Make it more deadpan, in other words.
Yep.
Okay. So we have agreement on that. Therefore, we boom, ruthlessly destroy all those keyframes. They're gone forever. And I'm going to save my work because at this point, I want to check one thing here on Mr. Big, which I think is really cool actually, is that this keyframe here can simply be dragged. Well, actually, hold on, let me check something here. Let's just put it here. Okay, so I just did some blurring on the background to get rid of an anomaly that I noticed from earlier. So, save that. So where the scene is effectively starting is here. Let's just double check. Okay, we've got it starting here at 160. I'm going to switch that to 150. And okay. That should be on 2s. And in fact, I'm going to move this back because actually I think we want to start with that expression. Now, what I'm toying with here a bit, let's get rid of that. I like the expression in it, but not here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these keys. I'm going to do a control copy. Because what I want to do is I want to get a deadpan. Then, yeah. And all we're going to do is animate her mouth. So that means that as simple as this is, it is really simple. We're going to go boom, erase. Let's just go through here, get rid of these. That's it. That's basically the whole shot. Now, there's Mr. Big merged. There's the copy. The copy might as well be deleted for this particular scene file. And now all we're going to do is give Akari a mouth. So let's get rid of the sketch layer. It's not doing us any good. So, I mean, I've alluded to this many times, the idea of being ruthless with our material, to absolutely insist on it being up to scratch. So, here we go. M key, let's go. So, okay, right there. We're going to go, let's turn on the, I usually find with lip sync, it helps to have the onion skins on. So she's going to go and then back to a neutral expression. And actually, the Z and the N can use the same drawing. So we'll just drag that to there, and indeed we will also drag this to here. Turning the onion skins off, and I'm going to say this layer should be slightly transparent. Okay, what just happened? Oh, apparently I never drew the this intermediate. I don't think I want to do that. Let me see about that. Maybe a tongue for that one. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to say this can go back to here. And this should go to here. She's going to have her mouth open. I'm going to do it on 6s actually. I was going to do 8, but 10? Okay. Yep, I have to agree. I think the deadpan expression works. Now, one thing that is worth considering, and by the way, you'll notice the only thing changing here is her eyes. I'm going to put this here just to see how it feels. Then, what if we did something like that? Let's just see. Is that? Nope. Again, I just don't think it's helping. It's a nice expression, but I don't think it's helping. I don't think it's making it better here. So that's fine. So let's go ahead and hit the solo key, isolate layer, which for me is the tilde key. And let's go ahead and color this baby in. Whoops. Sorry, we really want to be in behind mode. A lot of times I'll just use behind mode for things like, you know, lip sync layers. Okay. Sorry. Boom. This really needs to be something like that. That can be left alone, but I want to sample that color just in case I need it. Oh, I guess I don't need it. So this is actually just a copy of that, and that's a copy of that. So unsolo it, and we should be done actually. Then I'm just toying around with a little bit more eye darting action here. Then, okay, I like that, but I don't believe her eyes would be moving that much through this speech. So I'm gonna see how that feels. All right. I'll just move that downstream. Okay, my sense is that it's too much. It's a good thing, but too much of a good thing. So then, okay, and then these two, I believe, should come earlier. So the idea is that, and this is actually kind of interesting. I don't know if I should pull any theories out of it, but one thing I did learn shooting films was that in terms of action, especially if it's comedy, which this kind of really isn't, but one thing I learned was that the audience can visually only digest one main motion at a time. And so I found that storytelling was more effective if your actors sequence, and it's almost a one-dimensional sequence in the sense that you do one thing, then you do the next thing. If two important things overlap, which in this case is the darting of the eyes, which shows she's nervous, and then the line that she says when she says Zen's name. If those two things overlap, they actually each diminishes the effectiveness of the other. So in this case, I think that to just go dart and then say it and then dart some more is going to be clearer storytelling for the audience. Okay, so and you could argue that, but I do think that's probably working. Now, one thing I want to do is pull this down and see if there was any color correct. Well, there is, but it's a curve, so never mind. Okay, so cool. That means we can render this and cut it into the show. Let's watch it one more time. That's fine. All right. So glad I conferred with Valerie on this one because it's such a great example of me over-animating. When in fact, I just really agree with her that a good, clean storytelling here is to keep it as simple as possible. And I think if there's a takeaway from this, and the reason I'm continuing to blab on and on to you, the YouTube audience, as I do this, is I think this is a really important takeaway when you're animating, is generally you want to ask yourself, what are the key important things that need to happen here, and what do they mean? Her eyes darting like that means that she's confused, or all of a sudden the whole situation in terms of her awareness of it has radically changed because she's just realized that it's not Zen standing behind her, but someone else, some stranger. Okay, so that's what the darting of the eyes means. And then obviously saying Zen's name, kind of says it all. One thing I am thinking here is this starts again too soon. I'm just going to move it downstream. Zen? Okay, so what does that say? So if you were to think of this in terms of the important, the things that are happening in terms of visual storytelling, what's really going on here? Okay, and what it would be, and I'm going to move this actually, so this is kind of centered. So you have the eyes darting, then the line, and then the eyes darting again. So the important things are confusion, trying to get some confirmation of what she thinks is going on. Okay, and this is too uniform. Let's just check this one more time. Okay, I think, why do I keep seeing, okay, I got you. Okay, so I think here it should be more frenetic. So I'm going to move these closer together. Yeah, this one could be spread out a little bit. So it's the idea that there's this and I'm actually going to get rid of this last one, I think. Where are we ending? I think we might be ending it. We're ending at 240. I don't want her to come back right there. Okay, so what we have is confusion, Zen, and then a little more what the heck do I do here kind of thing. So it's a little confusing because it's looping. So you're seeing this shot or frame and then it's jumping back to this one. So it is a little confusing. I say let's cut it into the show. And I don't always cut things into the show right here on YouTube, but I think this time I'm going to. So let's go anime, render, conversions. So what are the takeaways from this session? One, don't over-animate. And one of the keys to being able to not over-animate is to get real specific about what is happening visually, what's moving, and what does it mean. What does it mean for the storytelling, for the audience? If you can be clear on that, that sort of becomes a guide, I would say. And so let's go ahead and convert that. Done deal. Excuse me, folks. And I'll drag that into the render folder. And this is shot number 56. And now I'm dragging this into Blender actually. And we'll come back here and bring this down. Now, one thing I do want to do is grab this and copy this to the selected strips. Yeah, that way they have the same color correction. Okay, so now let's just take a look at how it flows. And I'm going to go back a bit of a ways here because basically from about here really pretty much comprises the last couple weeks, I would say. At least the last week anyway. So let's just kind of see how things are going. So she hears the footsteps. What the heck's going on? And then Mr. Big trods into the room. Don't know if I'm going to redo that shot. That feels pretty good, I must say. This line of dialogue isn't really working. We do have a definite editing problem now. Which makes me think that this would be a good time to investigate whether Blender 2.8 actually even has any kind of reasonable ripple editing. Because what I'm seeing here is that over the last few days I've gotten closer and closer to a situation where making the edit work in one spot means that everything downstream needs to be moved all together. Now you can draw a rubber band around it and do it that way. But it sure would be nice to be able to ripple edit. In other words, grab these, like I grab these, and if I move them, hit the go key. Okay, well, Blender's decided that apparently you can't hit the go key with the title. Okay, now it works. So what I want to be able to do is move these guys around and have everything to the right move as well. That's the concept here. Then, okay, that was a little late on the title. Then, okay, and so now this and this are in the wrong spot, but I'm going to have to, let's see here. Okay, those will move. So let's just see if I'm going to get lucky here. I'm going to draw a rubber band around everything. And I'm going to zoom back in. And here's hoping. I don't like having to do the rubber band thing, but there are probably worse things one could have to deal with. Okay. Yeah, this shot has to be redone. It's just it's like a paper cutout or something. Just not quite where we want to be. The visual rendering of him, not too bad. Here, you can see I kind of moved his mouth down a bit. So it's not horrible, but it's not quite up to snuff. That shot's actually not too bad either. I don't think that the drawing of the ninjas was the best ever, but as I'm watching it without thinking about that, I'm finding that I am being sucked into the story and I wasn't thinking about the drawing. In other words, when I look at this in isolation, I'm going, oh my gosh, I really kind of need to improve that drawing. I was hurrying or whatever. But when I'm not holding still and I'm just watching it and I was thinking about this shot, when it just flowed through it, it didn't bother me at all. In fact, I kind of liked it. It felt pretty natural. Especially the way he bows down. Yeah, it's not like the best drawing and or animation ever, but the storytelling's pretty good. So yeah, we'll see if I can use this stuff or if it's all going to have to be redone, but we're redoing a lot of stuff. So anyway, okay, we're pushing the hour point, so I think that's probably good for today. We got the shot done. Turned out to be kind of easier than I expected. And as I often say, there will be more later.